This tutorial looks at the use and the creation of image maps. Very simply, an image map is an image with more than one link. Simple as that. Quite often we use them to link to maybe 3 different people into one image, or if we have a map drawn, we might link to different locations on that map or whatever we might do. Okay, so there are lots of applications for image maps. For instance, if I look at the left one up here, the very top corner, we're looking at maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and they might bring us to different parts of our website. Or if we look at the one below that with the blender and all the social media out of it, we might be able to link to the different social media. Or the picture of the two girls in the bottom left hand corner, you might turn around and say you might link to one of them by just clicking somewhere along here, and link to the other one, or link to their profile by clicking here. It's the same with these images here. It will bring you to maybe more description of different things and so on. So the use of image maps are huge. Okay, we do use them quite often in Facebook when we tag different people into one image. That's really what we're doing with an image map, where you might say a section of the image will link you to something, and other section of the image will link you to something else. So it's very, very straightforward. This example here I'm going to look at, and the one I'm going to use in Expression, will be the same. What we're going to do is, if you click on the Google part of this where it's 87%, it'll bring you to actual Google. Okay, if you click on the Apple one, it'll bring you to apple.com, Facebook, and then finally YouTube. So literally it allows us to have one image but linked to more than one location. Okay, so we'll just jump into Expression and see how straightforward this is. Okay, so the image map I'm going to use, all I'm going to do first of all is insert my image the same way I always do. And the image map I'm going to use is the one that we saw a minute ago in PowerPoint. Okay, so we have example, and we have this here. So I'm just going to, all we're going to do is we're going to use a toolbar that we mentioned earlier on to link to different parts of this and to highlight hotspots on the image. Okay, and each hotspot can then have its own personal target or its own link. Okay, so what we're going to use, we're going to click on the image first of all to select it, and when we do, this toolbar becomes available to us. Now, we looked at some of these in a previous tutorial. What we're going to focus on here are these icons down here at the end, which will allow me to create hotspots on my image. So the first one is a rectangular, the second one is a circular one, and then we have a polygon or a polygonal hotspot. Okay, with these particular options in here, you might say a circle might be the way to go, but in all fairness, probably a rectangle might be the way to go here, because we want to choose not only the circle but also the actual text below that. So I'm actually going to use the polygon just to show you how straightforward it is and what actually happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 4 separate links here, one to Google, one to Apple, one to Facebook, and one to YouTube. And I'm going to use the polygon to show you how that works. So as soon as I click this, I can actually draw whatever shape I want on this particular image. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight this area here by clicking and then clicking again. So what I'm doing is just clicking around the different sections like this. Okay, and all the way around the outside here, and then when I get back to the beginning, I'm just going to double click. Once I double click, it closes the loop, and it also gives me access to my hyperlink dialog box, which I've dealt with before in section or in tutorial 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so in this case here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in Google, www.google.com. Now, if I want to, and remember this from before, if I want to, I can change the target frame, which means that it will open Google in another tab or window. So I'm just going to go new window, okay, and I'm going to click OK. So now if I click on this and preview it, what it will do is when I scroll down to my images at the bottom here, and I can see this at the bottom here, what I will do is if I move over Google, it will show me a cursor, but also the bottom left hand corner, it will show me I'm linking to Google. So if I click on this, it will open up Google in another tab. Okay, so I'm just going to do the exact same thing along here. I'm going to do it 4 times, obviously, or 3 more times. And I'm just going to finish off this process. So again, I'm going to use the polygon here, clicking on this here. Now be careful not to overlap these, because if it overlaps, it gets a little bit confusing as to which one is on top. The last one we draw normally is on top, but you know, just so we don't get confused by it. This one here is going to www.apple.com. And again, target frame, new window, okay, and okay. And I'll go on with Facebook. And www.facebook.com, and again, target frame, new window, okay, okay, and finally YouTube. So I'm going to click on this one here, and careful not to overlap the whole thing. Now, as I said, these lines won't be visible in the final version, so we'll see www.youtube.com, and then target frame, new window, okay, okay. Save it and preview it. So what I have now this time here is I go to Google, Apple, Facebook, finally YouTube. So Google, Apple's taking a while. Facebook is having a good think about it too. Facebook is there, YouTube is there, Apple is still taking its time here, and there we go. Okay, so they link to all 4 of those. So that's simply how I can create a very simple image map there, and I can add as many of these as I want to. Okay, with those in mind, you can see that it creates, you know, all my coordinates up here. But with that in mind, just say I wanted to get rid of one, or I wasn't happy with one. Well, then I just simply click on the one that I don't want and simply hit delete. Okay, and then I can redraw it, or I can leave it as it is without it, or whatever. Okay, so I can play around with whichever one I don't want, or if I wasn't happy with how I drew one, I can do that, and I can go back. Obviously, the rectangle will draw a rectangle box, which means that, you know, it'll keep it nice and uniform, and the circle one will draw a circle. So that's really all we need to know about image maps and how you create them.